Good morning, folks. Thank you very much for tuning into the news at Ben. As ever, I am very grateful for your time. Now, you would have noticed that I haven't done a news at Ben for quite some time. And the reason for that is that I've been busy, extraordinarily busy, getting Advance UK, our new political party, on its feet. I've been working with a fantastic team of people, a growing fantastic team of people, and by the way, we're growing pretty fast, to achieve that end. And I'm sure you would have seen that we hit our self-imposed hurdle of 30,000 members. You'll recall, I think, from the 30th of June when we soft-launched the party, that we'd self-imposed this hurdle of 30,000 members before we applied to the Electoral Commission for registration as a full political party. And I set that hurdle of 30,000 members because I wanted to be certain of two things. First, that it wasn't just in my own head that the country needed a political force, but there was support for it out there in the country. That's been proven by us hitting that 30,000 figure. But also that if we were to become a new political party, that we had the ability to fight elections. And I know that with 30,000 members, we can do that. 30,000 members is roughly what Reform UK had at the beginning of the general election in 2024, and Reform won seats in that election. So I know that we already have the capability to fight a general election. And I didn't know when I set the target of 30,000 how long it would take to get there, but we got there really in record time. And so we've now applied to the Electoral Commission for registration. I have no idea how long that will take. We've had some feedback from the Electoral Commission on our application, and we've made some adjustments to our constitution in accordance with the recommendations they made, and that's now gone back to them. But I'm not too worried by how long it might take to get registered, because irrespective of the registration process, and I'm 100% confident that over time we will be registered one way or another, but during the time that our registration is pending, we are going about the serious business of growing the party. And we're doing that in a number of different ways. The first is building our college. Again, you might recall that we have created within Advance UK a body of people called the college, who act as the eyes, ears, conscience, intellectual ballast, and check on the leadership. They are the independent body within the party that will make sure that I, as leader, don't deviate from the mission statement set by the party, and that I stay true to the party's political philosophy. But they are also the body of people through which we will be forming policies, and the formation of policies is now commenced in a very serious way. And I think you may have heard me say, if you watched the video of our launch in Newcastle on the 27th of September, and I've said on a number of other occasions, that it is our aim by 2029 not just to have a body of coherent, holistic policies which hang together and would deliver this country from the peril in which it now finds itself, but to back those policies up with draft legislation. And so we're going to be very, very serious about how we go about this, so that by the time we get to the general election in 2029, not only will people know what we stand for, they will know precisely the legislative steps that we will take within days of forming a new government. The other reason the 30,000 members has become so important for us, it's created the ability to have the college and create policy. But the other reason the 30,000 members is so important for us is that you might have noticed that I've been cancelled by GB News and Talk Radio, two channels through which Advance UK would have been able to grow quite quickly. But in the absence of having access to those channels, which no matter what they say publicly about not having banned me, they clearly have banned me. I used to be on GB News 2 or 3 times a week and on Talk Radio virtually every day, certainly every other day. They've definitely banned us because I haven't been on for months. It seems to me they're circling round in supporting Reform and Nigel Farage for reasons which are not entirely clear. But anyway, be that as it may, it is vital that we use our 30,000 members now to connect with the rest of the British electorate. So we are also going about the very serious business of developing our ground game. We've now got a portal on our website where you can go and you can get merchandise, leaflets, caps, bumper stickers, T-shirts, all that kind of thing, to go out in your local areas and campaign already for Advance UK. We, the party, need you, the members, to spread the word. The mainstream media is obviously against us. GB News is against us. Talk is against us. I'm very sad that they are against us, but they are. And so we must go over their heads directly to the British people. And we can only do that, and we will do that through our membership. So the ground game, if you like, of Advance UK has already kicked off. And my aim from here is to build, and build. Build our policies, build our membership. And by the way, on membership, I think if we can get to 1 million members by 2029, I know that's a big figure, but the Conservative Party had 2.8 million members in the 1950s. It's very achievable to get to 1 million by 2029. If we can get to 1 million members by 2029, we will walk the general election. No matter what the polls say, we will walk it because we will have the biggest campaigning army across the United Kingdom. And that is what we must build. But the other thing that we're going to get on very seriously with Advance UK now is finding candidates. We've built the college up, but now we need to start also building our candidates list and people who will stand for Parliament. Our focus is going to be on the general election in 2029. We will fight local elections. Naturally, we will fight local elections. And for that, by the way, we are also setting up our regional network. A structure has now been drafted for a regional setup for Advance UK. That's being tested and sort of war gamed at a senior level at the moment to see whether it can stand the test of creating the kinds of teams that we need. But I hope to have that published and out with the broader membership in the coming days. So we'll be looking for candidates to stand in elections, but also in order to give effect to our regional structure, we'll be looking for regional directors, sub-regional directors, and then constituency representatives. We are taking, as you would have gleaned from what I've said so far, we are taking the establishing of Advance UK and its advancement, Advance UK's advancement, extremely seriously. And we are going to be the political force that will make a massive impact in the United Kingdom for the betterment of our country. Of that, I am 100% certain. And I think there is every chance that we may well form the next government of this country. Certainly, everything we do in Advance UK is going to improve the lot of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I want to talk about something else today beyond Advance's advancement. And it's a very serious issue that needs a really bright light shone on it. But before I go there, I just want to say, isn't it brilliant that we've now got a ceasefire in Gaza, and that after 2 years of war, almost to the day, after 2 years of war, peace seems to be coming back to the region. And I think it's doubly brilliant for those of us on our side of the political debate, the political divide, as it were, that it's President Trump that's brought this peace. All his decriers, his detractors, the naysayers said that he wouldn't be able to do it, that he was a belligerent kind of president. But actually, even Hamas have come out and said that if it wasn't for President Trump, there wouldn't now be peace in Gaza. They similarly denounced Tony Blair's involvement, and I do hope President Trump will see the light on Tony Blair and have him nowhere near that peace process. I think Tony Blair is, as you would have heard me say on previous occasions, the devil of British politics, the genuine devil of British politics, and he should be nowhere near anything of significant, meaningful importance. Tony Blair should be sidelined completely. But anyway, I'm delighted that there is peace, or apparently peace, in Gaza. I hope it holds. I hope Gaza can now be built into a peaceful, law-abiding entity free from being run by a terrorist organization such as Hamas, and that its people can then look forward to the future with confidence that their children and their children in turn have a bright future. No one in the world should want war. Everyone should want peace. It doesn't matter which side of the political divide you come from. We should all want that, and I'm delighted by it. Which brings me on to the other subject I wanted to discuss today, and on which a bright light needs to be shone. And it's to do with a certain member of Advance UK, Tommy Robinson. Now, you may be familiar with the arguments I've made in the past that Tommy Robinson's imprisonment in October 2024 was politically motivated. I don't want to rehearse those arguments again, but it's very clear to me that both technically and substantively, it was the establishment that went for Tommy Robinson in 2024 and locked him up. What you may not be aware of is that in July 2024, when Tommy Robinson was seeking to leave the country, he was stopped at the border by British constabulary who cited Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act 2000, an act of parliament brought in by Tony Blair, yes, the devil of British politics, which allows certain members of the constabulary citing terrorism law to stop people if they suspect them of being terrorists, even if they've got no grounds for suspicion. So they can basically stop anyone if they think that they may be a terrorist, even if they've got no grounds for thinking it. It's slightly ridiculous, but that's the power that Tony Blair gave this section of the constabulary. It's a most, in a democracy, to empower the police in that way is really setting aside the democratic principles of policing. But anyway, they stopped Tommy Robinson under this Schedule 7 Terrorism Act 2000. And they required him to hand over his mobile phone, and he refused to hand it over, or he handed it over and refused to give them the PIN for it so that they could go into it. And he cited his position as a journalist and the protection that his confidants needed he used that as his justification for not handing over the PIN. But whether or not Tommy Robinson was justified in his defense of not handing over his phone, it's utterly clear to me that aside from the fact that there should be no such thing as the Terrorism Act 2000, granting constabulary these draconian powers over British people, apart from the fact that that act should be repealed, something that an advanced UK government would do, it's clear to me that not only did the constabulary not have any suspicion of Tommy Robinson being a terrorist, not that they would have needed it under this act, but actually they would have known there's no chance of him being a terrorist. It's like stopping me at the border and claiming that they think I may be a terrorist. It's so clear what Tommy Robinson is, whether you like him or not, whether you think his colourful past is unforgivable or not, no matter which side of the political spectrum you come from, it's self-evident that whatever he is, he's not a terrorist. And the police would have known that. So in my mind, it's not sufficient for them not to have had justification to stop him. They actually were already in possession of justification for not stopping him because they knew who he was, just as they would know who I am. And I'm clearly not a terrorist. I don't pose any terrorist threat to this country. They knew he wasn't a terrorist. So this was an abuse of police power. And it was yet another example of how the state has gone after Tommy Robinson. And there will be people who watch this video and they will say, Ben, why are you defending that man? Why are you defending him? He's been charged and been to prison for multiple offenses, blah, blah, blah. But you have to ask yourself, no matter what you think of Tommy Robinson as an individual, you have to ask yourself, what kind of country do we live in if he could be repeatedly attacked by the state? And I'm calling out now leaders of other political parties, particularly Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch, to set aside their sensibilities and their social concerns about in some way being allied to Tommy Robinson if they were to support him. Set aside your sensibilities, step back from the situation, look at it in the cold light of day, and determine in your own minds, Farage and Badenoch, whether you think it was justifiable for the police to stop Tommy Robinson citing terrorism legislation. And if you were to do that, and if you were to do it honestly, the only answer you could get to is that he was being targeted by the state. Because, as I've said, he so clearly is not a terrorist, and the police would have known that. They were actually setting aside common sense and basic good policing principles in order to arrest him. The whole thing was politicized. So I can point to, in the last year, two fantastic examples, if I can use the word fantastic in this context, of the two-tier criminal justice system to which we're subject being used to target Tommy Robinson. Any serious politician now that cares about equality under the law would be calling this out. Tommy Robinson is appearing in court next week under these charges. These charges should be thrown out. And as I say, I call on Farage and Badenoch, if they have the courage to set aside their social sensibilities, I call on them to denounce these charges against Tommy Robinson. You should do it for any British citizen. It doesn't matter that it's Tommy Robinson. It doesn't matter whether or not you like him. It doesn't matter how you judge his past offences. He is being politically targeted. If you care about this country, if you care about equality under the law, you would call that out. And I'm calling it out now on behalf of Advance UK. The High Court should throw out those charges, and the police officers who arrested him and charged him should apologise to him. Thank you very much for listening, folks.